Okay, so we've been getting a ton of messages from you guys about all the shaking going on off of Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, who can blame you, right? 4 earthquakes in like, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's been pretty active.
And especially that 3.9 magnitude one on March 5th. I bet that woke a few people up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. A real wake-up call.
It's got everyone thinking about the big one and what it can mean for Vancouver.
Absolutely. It's definitely a wake-up call. And, it's a good opportunity to talk about the bigger picture here. The Cascadia subduction zone.
Right.
We hear about all those earthquake risks down in California, but the CSZ poses just as much of a threat to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So just remind me what exactly the Cascadia subduction zone. I mean, I know it's this huge fault line, but like...
Yeah, so imagine like a giant zipper, over 1,300 kilometers long, running from Northern California all the way up to southern British Columbia.
Wow.
That's the CSE. And it's where the Juan de Fuca plate is slowly pushing under the North American plate. And the subduction process, that's what causes all the seismic activity in the region.
And it's not just little tiny tremors we're talking about, right? This zone has a history of some seriously powerful earthquakes.
Oh, yeah. We're talking megaquakes here, like magnitude 9.0 or greater.
9.0 or greater.
To put that in perspective, the earthquake that devastated Haiti in 2010, that was a 7.0.
Wow.
So imagine something hundreds of times stronger.
That's scary.
The geological record shows at least 7 of these behemoths have hit the CSE in the past 3,500 years.
7. Wow. That's a lot. But those were thousands of years ago, right? So surely we're safe for a while.
Well, that's the unsettling part. These megaquakes, they tend to occur every 400 to 600 years on average.
Okay.
And the last one, that was back in 1700.
Hold on. Wait. You're telling me it's been over 300 years since the last big one? So does that mean we're overdue?
Well, based on the historical pattern, we're definitely in the window where it could happen.
Yeah.
And there's been some recent research that makes this even more intriguing.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, a study that was published just last year in 2024 pointed to the northern section of the CSC that's right near Vancouver Island and Washington.
Oh, no.
As the most likely source of the next major earthquake.
Oh, wow. So not only are we potentially overdue, but the next big one could be right on our doorstep. This is making me sweat a little bit.
Yeah, it's understandable to be concerned. And these recent earthquakes, those 3.9s and 4.8s off of Vancouver Island, they've got everyone wondering, could these be foreshocks?
Right.
Are we seeing the early warning signs of something much bigger?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. What do scientists say about foreshocks? Can they actually predict if a bigger quake is coming?
I mean, it would be amazing if we could. Right. Unfortunately, seismology, it isn't quite there yet in terms of, precise prediction.
Yeah.
We do know that about 40% of medium to large earthquakes have foreshocks, but it's impossible to know for sure if a smaller quake is a foreshock until a larger one happens.
So it's a waiting game, just hoping that those smaller quakes were just normal and not a sign of things to come.
Well, it's more nuanced than that. There's active research going on right now trying to understand foreshock mechanisms. Some scientists are focusing on the complex geometry of fault lines, looking at how different sections move and interact. Think of it like a giant puzzle, with pieces constantly shifting and putting stress on each other.
So fascinating, but a little terrifying, too. There's still so much unknown.
Yeah.
And if those recent earthquakes off Vancouver Island, like if they were foreshocks, what does that tell us?
Well, if they were foreshocks, and that's a big if, it suggests that stress is building up in that northern section of the CSC.
Oh, no.
The same area that was identified in that 2024 research.
Right, yeah. Okay, so that's definitely something to think about. But what does it actually mean for people living in Vancouver and on Vancouver Island? Like, what should we be doing?
Well, first, don't panic. The risk is real, but fear won't help. What's crucial is being informed and prepared. Knowing what to do in an earthquake can make a huge difference.
Okay.
The first step is understanding the risks and having a plan in place.
Right. And that's what we'll talk about after the break. Okay, so let's talk about that plan. What are the essentials that everyone should know?
Well, everyone in Vancouver should know the drop, cover, and hold on technique.
Right.
So if you feel shaking drop to the ground, take cover under a sturdy table or desk and hold on until the shaking stops.
Yeah, I've heard that before, but honestly, I'm like, what if I'm in a building that's not earthquake-proof? Wouldn't getting OUT be better?
It's a good question. Drop, cover, and hold on is generally the safest advice because most injuries actually happen when people try to move during the earthquake and get hit by falling debris. But you're right. There are situations where it might not be the best strategy. If you're in a building that's obviously unstable or likely to collapse,
Right.
getting out as quickly and safely as possible is probably the best bet.
Okay, that makes sense. So knowing your surroundings and making a judgment call is key.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's say I'm at home and I've done the drop cover and, hold on, the shaking stops. What then?
That's when preparedness really kicks in. You'll want to have an emergency kit ready to go.
Yeah, those kits, I always mean to put one together, but it just feels overwhelming. What exactly should I be packing?
Think about what you'd need to survive for at least 72 hours without power or water or access to shocks. So that means food water, at least 4 liters per person per day.
Okay.
A first aid kit, medications, a flashlight, a radio, extra batteries.
Right. The basics. But what about things specific to Vancouver? I mean, we're right on the coast. Tsunamis are a real concern, right?
Absolutely. If you live in a coastal area, tsunami awareness is crucial. Knowing your evacuation routes and having a plan for getting to higher ground could be life-saving.
It's a lot to think about. And honestly, it's easy to get overwhelmed by all this doom and gloom talk about the big one and potential tsunamis.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's feeling anxious about all of this?
I think anxiety is a natural response to feeling unprepared. Taking action can actually help reduce that anxiety. So start by putting together that emergency kit step by step. Practice the drop, cover, and hold on. Drill with your family. Research your neighborhood's evacuation routes. Knowledge and preparation are empowering.
I like that knowledge is empowering. It's like taking control of the situation instead of letting fear control you. But it's not just about individual preparedness, right?
You're absolutely right. Community resilience is just as important. So connecting with your neighbors, participating in local emergency preparedness drills, knowing where your community's designated shelter locations are, all of that can make a huge difference.
So it's about working together, sharing knowledge, supporting each other. We're all in this together, facing the same risks.
Exactly. And by taking those proactive steps, we can build a stronger, more resilient community that's better prepared to face whatever challenges come our way.
Well said. Knowledge is power, and action is peace of mind. So to our listener, what steps will you take to make sure you and your loved ones are ready? Check out Earthquakes Canada and the USGS for all the information you need to get started. Stay safe out there.
Yeah, it really is amazing how much you learn when you really dig deep into these topics.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I was a little bit complacent about earthquake preparedness before all these recent rumbles off of Vancouver Island.
Yeah, it's easy to push it to the back of our minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when the last major earthquake was so long ago. But as we've been discussing, the Cascadia subduction zone, it's a very real threat.
Yeah.
And being prepared is so crucial for everyone in the Pacific Northwest, not just those living in California.
So for our listener out there who's ready to take action, where's the best place to start? What resources would you recommend?
Well, Earthquakes Canada has a really fantastic website packed with information specifically tailored for Canadians.
You'll find tips on building an emergency kit, securing your home, what to do during and after an earthquake. They even have resources for kids and families.
Oh, nice.
To make preparedness a little less daunting.
I like that.
Yeah.
And what about our neighbors to the south? Any U.S.-based resources that stand out?
Absolutely. The U.S. Geological Survey has a wealth of information on their website.
Okay.
They really go deep into the science behind earthquakes, and you can even explore interactive maps that show past earthquake activity and potential hazard zones.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so Earthquakes Canada and the USGS. Got it. I'm adding those to my to-do list right now.
Yeah.
It's been a fascinating and slightly nerve-wracking deep dive into the world of earthquakes and the Cascadia subduction zone.
It's all about turning that nervous energy into positive action.
Right.
We can't predict exactly when or where the next big one will hit, but we can control how prepared we are. By taking those steps, building our kits, making our plans, connecting with our communities, we're not just protecting ourselves, we're building a more resilient future for everyone.
Well said. Knowledge is power, and action is peace of mind. So to our listener, what steps will you take to make sure you and your loved ones are ready? Check out Earthquakes Canada and the USGS for all the information you need to get started. Stay safe out there.